ain't never asked for no help, I just did it by myself. Can't nobody tell me no, no, no. And they ain't gotta love you, long as you just love you, you gon' be alright on your own. Straight off the dome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Off the Dome, that's what we do, that's who we are. Welcome to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast where two sports lovers sit and give their hot takes off the dome. I am Redfish.
And I am Mustang.
And we will be steering this ship today. Before we get started, we'd like to shout out to Ezzy, that's E-Z-Z-I, on Spotify for that intro song. It is called Off the Dome. Very good song. And very good artist. That's Ezzy, E-Z-Z-Z-I, on Spotify. I threw an extra Z in there, I think. Oh, well. You know what happens. If you're watching right now on Radio House Studios, we want to thank you very much. Watching on all Radio House Studios accounts, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, you can watch us live as we do. Or you can listen in on newrockradio.us. But don't only just listen in for us. Listen in 24/7 for the best and your favorite rock music, whether that be classic rock, new rock, local New Orleans bands, national bands, does not matter. It is streaming on newrockradio.us. Also, make sure to check out newcountryradio.us. If you're a country music fan like I am, you will love it. Check us out on Facebook or YouTube, Off the Dome Sports Podcast on there. It's a big yellow logo that looks like my shirt. Shouldn't be too hard to find. Or on Twitter at @off_the_dome pod. Before we get into the sports, let's talk about some sponsors we got. First up, you see their sign behind us, Petra Restaurant and Lounge. We want to thank Petra for being the best dining experience in the area, offering daily chef specials and a fantastic atmosphere. But not only do they have a great dining experience, they have a great lounge as well. So go ahead and check them out. They're at 1036 West Airline Highway in Laplace, or give them a call, 985-359-8888. We want to thank another great restaurant down the street in Garyville, and that's Fatty's Restaurant. I know Mustang knows about Fatty's.
Oh, yeah. Great place.
Love that place. Great food, great atmosphere, and the occasional live music. So go ahead and check out Fatty's. You'll find them on Museum Street in Garyville or Fatty's on Facebook. And then lastly, we want to thank Big Chiefs AC and Heating in Gramercy. This Louisiana weather's changing, man. Go ahead and give them a call before it gets too hot. Make sure your AC is up to standards. That is Big Chiefs AC and Heating, 985-359-0419. Thank you to Big Chiefs, thank you to Fatty's, and thank you to Petra for not only being a friend of the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, but to newrockradio.us and the Radio House. Now, time to talk about what we saw on Sunday.
Spoats.
It was the last of the football spoat. Unfortunately for the rest of the NFL season, the Super Bowl, the biggest game in America every year, the game that most people care about, the game that most people bet on, which I know we did and we will get into. Don't you worry. But if you didn't see it, which I sure hope you did, if you're watching this, you're probably a sports fan. So I'm guessing you saw the Super Bowl. And all in all, I think it was a fantastic game.
Yeah, definitely one of the best I've seen in recent years. The best one, obviously, was Saints-Colts.
Yeah, no game's ever going to beat that.
But as of recent years ago, I think it was the one I was, the most into. It felt like a really good football game, and it didn't upset from what the fans were expecting.
No, absolutely. Final score ended up being 38-35 in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs. For me, it felt like Philly was dominating the entire game until that fourth quarter. The scoreboard says it too. Philly was playing exactly how they needed to play. The field was an issue for both teams, which has been talked about a little bit. But Kansas City ends up with the win, 38-35. Patrick Mahomes goes down as Super Bowl MVP. Let's just talk about the game itself. First quarter, Philly starts off hot. I feel good about them. Kansas City scores. Philly kept the ball rolling, and then they go into halftime up by 10 points. I believe the stat was teams up at halftime by double digits were 26-1 in the Super Bowl, the one being the Falcons.
28-3.
28-3, which still love to talk about it. I'll talk about that any chance I get. But the Eagles could not keep that record going. So it ends up falling to 26-2, if that even was the correct record. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was. But Chiefs take it home 38-35. What did you see out of this game kind of throughout the game that you thought led to a Chiefs W?
Well, the game as a whole, I think, I think sometimes, teams fall in the playoffs where they should have won, but I think these two teams were the two teams that were supposed to be here, and I think they kind of proved that in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs, who are kind of the underdog going into this game. I know the Eagles were technically favored by a 1.5. Soundman said it was the script.
Yeah, script. Script will get you every time.
The underdog comes out with the win here. All in all, it was just a really fun game to watch the whole way through. Some calls didn't go for the Eagles, throughout the game, especially late in the fourth quarter, down in the red zone on defense. Called a holding penalty on
It was so
third and goal.
ticky-tack, man.
Yeah, it's tough because I don't think, by definition it was a hold. He didn't pull the jersey.
He kind of just had his,
He
hand,
had his
there,
hand there.
and like did he have a grasp of the jersey? Maybe, but did it really hinder the offensive player, or I think it was Juju, to do what he needed to do? I don't know. Like, it was just weird.
Yeah, I think at that point in the game, you kind of just got to let him play. Plus, the ball went out the back of the end zone anyway.
Yeah.
And, the receiver wasn't even in the end zone. So, it's kind of questionable. A lot of people are arguing about it, especially a lot of Philly fans,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of Chiefs haters.
Mm-hmm.
But, can't argue it now. It's over. It happened.
True.
We've been there
Yeah. Oh,
3 years in a row. We've
couple
been
times.
there.
Couple times. Saints fans have been there.
But, Mahomes, MVP. I think he deserved to win the Super Bowl, even though they didn't, play their best game, especially in the first half. I thought right out the bat the Eagles had won this. That's why I didn't cash out on any of my bets. Should have done that.
Yeah. Yeah, some would say. Some would say.
But, I'm happy for Travis Kelce. He's like the one
Yeah.
person on that team that I like.
Yeah, and I'm happy for Isaiah Pacheco. I know he's only a rookie, but he had a great
He did. He probably had the best game,
I know.
on the Chiefs.
Unless
you're Nick Bolton.
facts. If Mahomes wouldn't have thrown 3 touchdowns, I think Pacheco would have won it. He had a really good game.
If Nick Bolton was scored 2 touchdowns.
Oh, definitely would have won it. Malcolm Smith level. But yeah, so kind of building off what you said, I think it was a great football game. Like, if you take that holding call out and just act like that that didn't happen, which of course you can't, but I'm just saying in retrospect, first 3 quarters, I think it was just a beautiful football game. I think it was a fun football game to watch. Like you said, I think it was the 2 best teams. I don't think there was, all in all, I think the best team in the NFC made it, the best team out of the AFC made it, and the best football team won the game. Do I wish Philly would have won? Yes, not only from a financial perspective, but I loved this Philly team. I said before the year I expected them to go all the way, so I would have loved to see Philly win the game. They don't, but again, I think it was just a wonderful football game. I think it was the perfect cap to what was a crazy NFL season. Kind of going into the stats of the game, Mahomes, like you said, didn't have his best game ever. 21 for 27, only 182 yards, but had 3 touchdowns. He didn't throw for a bunch, but that's because the Chiefs had over 150 grounds. 150 grounds, huh?
Wow,
150
that's a lot of
yards.
grounds.
Yeah, 150 yards on the ground. They had 158 to be exact, averaging 6.1 yards per carry. So they were getting it done on the ground, so there was no need for Mahomes to keep airing it out. And also in the second half, they were kind of shutting down the Philly offense to an extent. So they were getting better field position, didn't need to throw as much. So, Mahomes doesn't have the big flashy numbers, but he takes home Super Bowl MVP anyway. Like I was saying, Pacheco had 15 carries, 76 yards. That's 5.1 per carry and a touchdown. I think he had a fantastic day. He had a great year for a rookie. I think he's going to be big next year. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Clyde. I don't know if they'll go like a 1A, 1B system, which the Chiefs always seem to have like a system running back type thing.
And I think Clyde fits it well, especially, if your other workhorse is Isaiah Pacheco, because he's all about getting the handoffs.
Yeah, they're very, very different running backs. So I think it'll I think it'll lend well for the Chiefs. Pacheco's a very downhill, like, come at you kind of guy. And, he has burst away speed for sure. But Clyde's a receiving back, basically only a receiving back at this point. He's kind of gotten the run shut down on him at the NFL level. Moving on to the receiving category, Travis Kelce, of course, had a great day. 6 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown. I think Travis Kelce anytime touchdown in the Super Bowl might have been the most
the most bet on thing.
leg of any parlay, and of course it hit because this was not going to be a Super Bowl without Travis Kelce scoring. Juju Smith-Schuster had the second most receiving yards and the only other guy over 20 yards on the team. He had 53 on 7 catches. Good game from Juju, but the things he's been doing on Twitter since the game have been absolutely making me angry.
I haven't seen any of them.
He's been, like, coming at Eagles players and, like, just, like, he posted a Valentine's Day card meme that said, that was a picture of James Bradbury, and it said, "I want to hold you for Valentine's Day." And then, like, every Eagle ever started coming at him and was like, "Congratulations, you didn't do anything all year, TikTok boy, but glad you got your ring." Like, A.J. Brown was going at him. Of course, James Bradbury was going at him. Darius Slay was going at him. Like, he was getting roasted by people who aren't even on the Eagles. Like, the NFL community as a whole was just like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Because he thinks he's big stuff. But, we'll see what happens with the Chiefs in the offseason. Moving on to the Eagles, I think Jalen Hurts had the best game out of anybody in the Super Bowl.
3 on the ground, 1 in the air.
1 in the air, 3 on the ground. Yes. Fantastic day. He made plays happen that should not have happened. The O-line seemed to struggle, which was crazy because what we talked about so much in detail in the last episode before the Super Bowl was how good the O&D line is for the Eagles.
Yeah.
And yet we see Kansas City's run game absolutely dominate them, and we see Kansas City's defensive line put Jalen Hurts under pressure.
Yeah, a lot more than what we're used to seeing, too. I feel like every other play he was scrambling out of the pocket, running to the right, and either having to throw it away or make a tough throw, which he did a lot of. He made a lot of tough throws.
Which, that's not necessarily out of Jalen Hurts' repertoire. I mean, he is one of the best running quarterbacks in the league, super athletic. Like you said, he had 3 touchdowns on the ground, so it's not like he's not used to putting the ball in the end zone with his feet. Also had 15 carries for 70 yards. He had a 28-yard carry on like a 3rd and long that ended up getting them into the red zone. So Jalen Hurts had a great game with his arm and with his legs. His receivers helped him out, too. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert. Those 3 guys combined for 250 yards, over 250 yards and a touchdown. I mean, they had great days as well. I think this Philly offense scoring 35 points, if you tell me Philly scores 35 points in the Super Bowl, I tell you they win. There's no way. I think the Chiefs just had things fall their way. They stopped them at the right time, and it just ended up working out for Kansas City to win the game.
Yeah, I feel like things just kind of fell right for the Chiefs. It wasn't necessarily that the Eagles played bad because they didn't. They held one of the best teams, if not the best, especially in the first half, for not as much points as people were expecting. And then things just kind of started to fall for the Chiefs towards the end of the game, and they were able to put up some more points.
Yeah.
But I'd like to go back to these 3 touchdowns by Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
They were all, goal line touchdowns, and people have always said, I'll get to that in a second. But people have always, talked about Breeze and Brady as, the 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, QB sneak conversion masters.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jalen Hurts is the best to ever do it.
Ever? He's only been in the league 3 years.
3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl.
No, yeah. I mean, he had a great day.
I don't think I've ever seen...
He's best right now.
Well, yeah. But I think he could be.
Oh, sure.
The best to ever do it.
And, a big testament that is the Eagles O-line. If, I know the commentators talk about it all the time on the broadcast, so if you watch those games, you're probably tired of hearing it, but the pad level. The Eagles get so low, so quick, and are so powerful that Jalen Hurts is he has a wide open hole to go. I mean, the Eagles O-line, I don't know who their O-line coach is, but whoever it is doing a fantastic
Needs a
job.
raise.
Yeah. Jason Kelsey has done a great job leading that unit as well, which, to be honest, I don't know if he's going to come back next year. He was contemplating retirement before this season, makes it to the Super Bowl, just barely misses it. After the game, he had a great moment with Travis and with his mom, and you can watch it on Twitter or TikTok, wherever you find those little short videos or whatever. He had a funny little quote with his brother. They came and they hugged in the middle of the field, and they were both bawling, crying. And then he told his brother he gave him a little curse word, and it was like, "Go celebrate. I don't want to listen to you right now." All in love, of course. But yeah, I mean, that O-line really propelled Jalen Hurts forward, and Jalen Hurts is a special athlete.
Yeah.
He's not a quarterback that only does it with his arm or only does it with his legs. He truly is dual threat. And a lot of guys before the year were like, he's just a runner. He's kind of like Lamar.
He came in at the very late in the season prior to this one, and so people didn't really know what he was capable of. And when he was named the starter for this season, they were even more skeptical. They're like, "Oh, will he be able to, hold up for a starting job from Mr. Gardner Minshew?"
Gardner, my boy.
And
would have loved to see him get a ring. That's for sure.
He definitely proved them wrong. I'm not going to say what RG3 said about him.
Well, I don't think we can say that. But yeah, I mean, me and you have both loved Jalen Hurts for a long time, so we're gonna be biased and talk about how good he is. But if there's anybody I really feel bad for, it's Jason Kelsey and Jalen Hurts, because they worked their tails off, and I feel like they deserve to be hoisting the Lombardi.
They'll be back.
Oh, they will.
Yeah, I don't think Jason's going to retire after seeing how close they were this year, and I think they'll improve next year, not get worse.
Well, that brings up my next point: is they actually lost their OC and their DC. So what does that do? They lose Shane Steichen, who is now the head coach of the Colts. Lose Jonathan Gannon, now head coach of the Cardinals, which ended up rounding out the head coaching cycle for the 2023 offseason. So now every team has a head coach going into next year. What do the Eagles do at OC and DC, and do you really think they improve?
I do. A lot of people kind of look over offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. It is, a very important position. But I think when you have, this talented of a team, this high performing of athletes, I think it'll definitely help if they get the right person. But at the same time, if they don't get the, best person available, I think they'll still be just fine. Yeah,
I'm not saying they're going to take a huge step back and miss the playoffs or anything. It's just it felt like everything went right for them this year. So I'm curious to see if a lot of people going into the Super Bowl were like, the Eagles have had the easiest road to the Super Bowl that we've ever seen any team. Like, they got handed all this opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And I think in the Super Bowl they showed they were like, no, we're actually a very good football team. So I'm curious to see how next year they do. They're going to have a lot of different personnel in the coaching staff, so it'll be interesting to see if they can repeat what they did this year, improve, if they get worse, blah, blah, blah. But like you were saying, with the amount of talent they have, it's almost impossible not to remain very good.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. I think what he did this season has cemented him there. I had this conversation with a couple people the other night. Is Jalen Hurts top 5? And for me, he is. He's 5th, maybe even 4th. So when you have a top 5 quarterback, you have one of the best receiving duos in the league in A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. You have Dallas Goedert, who's a playmaker at the tight end position. And you have a defense that was basically top 3 in every statistic you could look at. And you're not really losing players. You're just losing coaches. Now, of course, coaches are important. I just mentioned the OC and the DC. But like you said, with remaining all that talent, I don't think the Eagles are going to be a team to look over for the next few years.
Yeah, especially because, Nick Sirianni's the coach. I'm not really, I'm kind of just glancing over this missing OC and DC because I know he's going to find his guys, and they're going to be dogs.
Dogs. He has that dog mentality, for sure.
Yeah.
And, Nick Sirianni, when you hear him talk, you're like, there's no way this dude's good at his job. But he is. I think that's what he's best at too. Is I don't know about him from an X and O's perspective. I don't know if his background, he was like a college quarterback or whatever. I have no idea. But when you listen to him talk, he does not sound smart, but damn, he pumps those boys up, huh? It seems like the locker room loves him.
Yeah,
So
probably one of the most motivational coaches, especially from the younger guys.
Yeah, and like they're weird motivational speeches. Like when he talks about how flowers need to grow out of the manure. And when you first start, you're the manure, but by the end, you want to be the flower. Like, dude, what are you talking about?
He doesn't even know.
However, it seems to have worked.
Oh, yeah, it works.
But, going back to the Chiefs for just a minute, Andy Reid gets another Super Bowl. There was talks of, hey, maybe Andy Reid retires, and then he was like, I think I'm going to stick around a little bit longer.
Yeah,
because, if he sticks around another 3 years, he might bring home another one. The Chiefs
are another team. They're going to be right back in this thing.
Yeah, they lost Tyreek Hill, and everybody was like, yeah, they'll still be the Chiefs. They'll make the playoffs.
They'll win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. The fact that you lose one of your 3 best players and your number 1 receiver, and you don't really get better at any other position, and you still win the Super Bowl, that's a testament for me to 2 things. It's how important quarterback play is, because Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, he can make anybody look good.
And as much as I think the media just overblows him all the time, he is so talented and very, very good at what he does. And then, I think it's a testament to coaching. I think the Chiefs have had one of those staffs that is retained year to year to year, and when you have that longevity and that sustainability on your coaching staff, the players trust you. And that seems to be what's happening with Cheeseburger Andy. Although he did have pizza after the game.
Drawing mustaches on his players while they're sleeping on the plane.
Good commercial. Speaking about commercials, do you have a favorite Super Bowl commercial? Or if anybody out there is watching right now and you had a favorite Super Bowl commercial, let us know.
Let us know in the chat. I'm not going to lie. I was fairly intoxicated that night.
You were. I can attest.
I'll get back to you on that. I'll be thinking about it.
All right.
But going on to these Chiefs, especially specifically, there it is.
Are you intoxicated right now?
Specifically, Patrick Mahomes. This, without a doubt, wasn't his best team.
No, I don't think it is either. I would agree.
But it might have been his best year.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
To him.
Because that year he first burst onto the scene, I think it was his second year after Alex Smith moved on, and he came on and was the best quarterback that won MVP his first year starting, threw for 5,200 yards, 50 touchdowns, had a great year. He had very similar stats this year with a worse team. Travis Kelce is, he, in my opinion, he's the same player he was 2 years ago. I don't think he's better or worse. I think he's the same player. But you lose Tyreek Hill. McCole Hardman was out for the last half of the year on IR. So you're making, you kind of have this makeshift receiver core of Juju Smith-Schuster, MVS, Kadarius Toney, and Sky Moore, who I don't think I ever saw a game where 2 of them succeeded in the same game. It was always just okay, it's this guy's turn. It's this guy's turn. It's this guy's turn, which we've kind of seen from Mahomes his whole entire career. If it's not Tyreek or Travis, the third guy varies from... The third guy varies from game to game. So Patrick Mahomes is kind of like a really good point guard in the sense that he makes the people around him better. And it was, like I said, the Super Bowl in general was the perfect way to cap off this NFL season. I think it was an amazing football game that people are going to look back on and watch repeatedly because of how enjoyable it was of a game, in my opinion.
Radio House Studios account said Dunkin' Donuts was their favorite commercial.
Which one was
the
it?
Ben Affleck.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was a good commercial. Which reminds me
J-Lo
of the...
rolled in, yeah.
I believe it was T-Mobile with Bradley Cooper and his mom.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Too.
That was a good one. I enjoyed the Michelob Ultra one with Serena Williams.
Oh, yeah.
The guy from Succession, all those dudes. It was just like a star-studded cast, and it was kind of all over the place. But it was funny. I thought that they did a good job on that one. And I also, there was one other one that I'm forgetting at the moment, but I enjoyed it.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Um,
It was the Jeep one because it had a sloth in it. Yeah, I'm a sloth guy.
You're a sloth guy.
I love sloths, man. What can I say?
That's got to mean something else.
It doesn't mean anything else. It means I like sloths.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
All
But
right.
these Super Bowl commercials, I'm glad to see them getting back. They're not there yet from what they used to be, but they're on the right
Yeah,
track.
it felt like they slacked for a little bit. And, I saw a lot of people were saying this year's Super Bowl commercials weren't great. I thought the commercials were good.
I enjoyed them, especially from last year's Super Bowls. I can't remember any of them.
You know what commercial was evil? That Tubi commercial. Where they
Yeah.
made everybody freak out and think they sat on the remote and everything was... Which, to be fair, we started
commercial.
yelling
Yeah,
at
we-
Danny
We got mad.
because he had already messed with the remote once. And we were like, dude, what are you doing? We're trying to watch a game here.
For those of y'all that might not have seen it, it was a commercial for a streaming service, and it didn't start like a normal commercial would. It kind of just it looked like the TV had gone back to the home screen, and there was someone else using the remote to go and pick a different channel, and we all freaked out
Yeah. Everyone started screaming.
because
at him.
it was late in the fourth quarter when
Yeah.
this one happened.
Yeah, no, it was... That was a messed up commercial. Which, to be fair, it did exactly what they wanted it to do. It got their name out there.
Yeah.
Everyone knows. But, geez, that one was frustrating. But yeah, I mean, and then the halftime show. We got to talk about the halftime show. How'd you feel about it?
So I'm a music guy, so I like music performances. I like listening to live performances, and think Rihanna's great, but I don't think from a vocalist level it was what she could have done best. There was a lot of dancing, there was a lot of showmanship, and enjoyed that part of it. But from a musician's perspective, we've seen some great Super Bowl halftime shows like Prince, The Who. That was a really good one.
That was the Saints year.
Yes. And then we've seen some that were like the Black Eyed Peas. Well, the first time they did it, it wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of just out there dancing around and singing their songs. The next time they did it, it was really good because they brought on a bunch of different artists. They had Usher. They just had a very popular song release. And Rihanna's been kind of quiet.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, surprised me when they announced her being the halftime show. Your dad is not a fan of the halftime show.
Nah, I didn't expect him to be. From a ex-musician's perspective,
you
I
go.
guess you could say. I thought she sounded great.
Oh, yeah.
Like Rihanna has great music. Like I knew almost every song because they're number one hits. Like she has really good songs, and vocally she sounds good. I just last year's halftime show, I knew less music from last year's halftime show, but I enjoyed it more because it just felt more like a Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah. This one
kind of felt like a big time concert.
Yeah.
Which, a lot of people enjoyed it and they were like, hey, you don't need to have costume changes and you don't need to have special guests, blah, 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 to make a good halftime show. But I was like, it's a Super Bowl halftime show. If there's any chance for you to go out and do something, this is it. Like we had 2 years ago when The Weeknd was out there, he had 2 costume changes. He walked from goal line to goal line, went up in the stadium in a hall of mirrors, and that
was a good show.
Yeah, it's a halftime show for a reason. It is not called a halftime concert.
Your sister, Bluefish.
That one got me.
She said, I think she did well considering she was pregnant, but that did take away from her wow factor because she was restricted.
Well,
And Soundman said the Illuminati sign she threw up was awesome. Don't
Well,
know what he's talking about.
while she was going up on that metal platform, she threw up a triangle like that. People were like, "Oh, proved it again, Illuminati."
But yeah, she sounded good. It wasn't the halftime show everybody was expecting. Yes, she was pregnant. Yes, I just called you Bluefish because he is Redfish.
I mean, I guess.
But yeah, she sounded great, but there was a lot of points of the show where she wasn't singing. She was kind of just walking around and dancing, and the background music was playing.
Yeah.
And with her being pregnant, I would have expected her to kind of stand still more, not dance as much, and just sing because
Well-
she has a great voice.
This is going to sound like the most 80-year-old dad thing I've ever said, but just don't get pregnant. How about that? Like, you're doing the Super Bowl halftime show. Come on, Rihanna. What are we doing? But anyway,
And
I
yeah,
digress.
especially because of the pregame show
Mm-hmm.
with Babyface and Chris Stapleton, two great singers.
Chris Stapleton's national anthem.
Soundman was talking about this the night it happened, and we were kind of clueless. But Babyface actually played a guitar upside down, and like, we've seen people
I
do
had
before.
no idea what he was talking about when he said
Jimi
it.
Hendrix used to do it, but because he was left-handed, and at the time they didn't make left-handed guitars, so he used to play it upside down and restring it backwards. Except Babyface didn't restring it, so he was playing chords upside down.
What?
Don't know how he did it.
That's insane.
And then yes, Chris Stapleton with his amazing voice singing
Dude, just him and the guitar, I mean, it was
the
was
national
wonderful.
anthem, making Nick Sirianni and Alex Smith cry.
Alex Smith. Nick Sirianni does not look that much like Alex Smith.
No, but it was funny at the time.
Because you were intoxicated.
Yes.
But no, yeah. I love Chris Stapleton. I mean, outside of the national anthem, I listen to all of his music. He's great. So, all in all, wrapping up the Super Bowl, I was very pleased with it. The holding call did make me angry, but I was very pleased with what we got out of the last NFL game of the season. I think the best team in football won the game. And that's pretty much all you can ask for out of the Super Bowl. We said on the last episode, all we hope for is a good game, and I think we got
Yeah.
the best game we possibly could.
Yeah, I don't think it gets much better.
No. The only thing that would have made the game better is if I won money.
Correct.
And I did not
No,
win money.
neither of us did.
We should have cashed out when we had the chance. So, moving on from the Super Bowl to kind of the NFL season as a whole, now that it's over, do you have any big moments you remember of the NFL season? Anything you want to talk about specifically from this NFL season as a whole? And kind of what you want to see maybe repeat into next year, what you would see like to die in 2022, and what are we just looking forward to in NFL 2023?
Well, being a Saints fan, it wasn't, nothing too flashy of a year, to
Yeah.
say the least.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you could say more, trust me.
so I kind of had to, rely on other teams to get me pumped up for the season. And one team that, very much did that at the start of the season was the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to the Dolphins next season. If Tua can stay healthy, if this team can repeat what success they had early last season, could be dangerous.
Yeah. And they brought in Vic Fangio as the DC. So their defense should get better. And they have a lot of talent on the defense.
Oh yeah,
So if Fangio can come in and wrangle that defense up and get them all on the same page, the Dolphins definitely could be a team to watch next year. Kind of going on that point, do you think there's any team that may have not won their division this year or may have underperformed this year that you feel is like a lock next year? So, for example, like the Dolphins that you just talked about, they went 9-8 this year, finished second in their division. Do you feel like they're going to win the division, even though they have teams like the Patriots and the Jets and the Bills in their division? Or is there another team league-wide where you're like, they didn't do it this year, but next year I definitely see them being somewhere?
all right. So let me go through them out loud.
Yeah.
Starting with the NFC, we'll go with the West. The Niners, I think they deserve to be there. I think they will be there again next season.
No matter who the quarterback is.
The North, complete toss-up.
The North, I could see any of the teams finishing 1 through 4 and being like, yeah, sure. Except for the Bears. The Bears are not finishing higher than 2.
So the Lions, definitely on the
Lions are winning the NFC North next year.
On
That's
the
why I brought this
uprise.
up, because I specifically wanted to talk about how the Lions are winning the NFC North next season.
Lions.
They are
could be
going
up
to
there.
go 11-6, win the NFC North, and host a playoff game.
Wow. Bold move, Cotton.
We will see when it pays off.
But the Vikings are up there too still.
Yeah.
It just depends on how many primetime games they get. The less they get,
The better for
the
them.
better they will be.
I really hope the Vikings play every Monday and Thursday night for the rest of the season. They're gonna play all of the games, like 50 of them.
They get every primetime spot.
Yes.
Moving on to the NFC East, I think once again it'll be the Eagles again.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys, any of those teams really. Well, not so much the Commanders. They'd have to go through some big change.
Yeah. Sam Howell's supposed to be their starting quarterback, so we'll see.
Could be the next big thing,
Could be, or could be Baker Mayfield.
or Johnny Football.
Ooh, even worse.
Way worse. But as far as the Giants go, we've seen them go through a lot of change and them succeed.
Brian Daboll won Coach of the Year, so
Cowboys had a very Cowboy season.
very good in the regular season, then choke in the playoffs.
NFC South, another toss-up.
Again, could see any of the teams going 1 through 4.
Literally any of them.
Legit, like I mean it. I could see any team going 1 through 4 and being like, yeah, that sounds about right.
It depends on what the Bucks do. If they start Kyle Trask all season, I don't see them finishing higher than 3.
Fair. As much as I hate to say it as a Saints fan, I think the Panthers are going to win the division next year. I think they're going to be very good. I just have this weird feeling that the Panthers, they brought in a ton of good coaches. If they can figure out the quarterback situation, they have so much talent on that team. I feel like the Panthers could be really good next season.
Well, I don't like their offense. There's the big question at quarterback. Running back is another one. They traded away McCaffrey.
True.
DJ
fair.
Moore is kind of really
He's
the
good.
only receiver.
I don't know, man.
He's good, but
I feel like they won games they shouldn't have won this year. And
yeah, that's true. Especially after
yeah,
letting go of McCaffrey.
I mean, they have the same record as the Saints. They went 7-10, finished second in the division. If they end up beating the Buccaneers in that last game, and the Saints lose, I think the Panthers made the playoffs. If they would have beat the Buccaneers and we lost, I think the Panthers ended up making the playoffs. So, it's weird. But okay, so that's the NFC. What are we thinking in the AFC? AFC East: Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets.
I think it'll be the Bills again, but it all depends on this offseason what happens because the Dolphins are right there. They're on the cusp.
Yeah.
I think without a doubt they're the second best team in that division currently. So if something, if the Bills went through some change that didn't really favor them, I think the Dolphins could very well take that number 1 spot.
Yeah.
Patriots are just a young team. They're going to take some time to get better. And I think, with Belichick at the helm, you're never
out of it.
You're never out of it. So they could make me eat my own shorts.
Eat your own shorts, indeed.
The Jets also. That's going to be a good
Jets had a
division in
good
a
year.
few years.
Yeah, they could have a NFC East type feel next year, where the NFC East all finished up with 500 or more or better records. We could see the same thing out of the AFC East. AFC North: Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns. Personally, feel like the Bengals.
Yeah, Bengals
Probably going to repeat on that one.
will be there again, especially if they don't. Lamar's great. I know if you're Baltimore, you have to bring him back.
Yeah.
So I know they will, but at the same time, you got to give him weapons.
Yeah.
That's not just Mark Andrews.
Yeah. I mean, he has Mark Andrews, and then he has some weird rotating door at receiver and
a
bunch of running
room
backs
that can't
that
stay healthy.
Yeah, a bunch of running backs that play 4 games and then tear something. So we'll see where the Ravens go. AFC South: Jags won it this year. Kind of surprising. I don't see them getting worse. That's for sure.
I definitely see them getting better, especially another year for Trevor Lawrence under his belt will make him just that much better. Jags will be there again.
Yeah,
And I think it'll be less in question. Like it won't come down to
the last
who
game.
wins the last game of the season. I think they'll have it locked up.
Absolutely. And then AFC West, we just saw the Kansas City Chiefs in that division not only win the division but win the Super Bowl. And then you've got the Chargers, who were my pick to win the Super Bowl, unfortunately. And then the Raiders, who are getting rid of Derek Carr. Which brings me to my next question.
Hold on. Let me talk about the West.
All right.
So we know the Chiefs. I think they'll be there again. But at the same time, there's these teams, besides the Raiders, Chargers and Broncos. Chargers, We've seen what they can do. We know their potential. They just need to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And their coach needs to make some better decisions.
Yeah. I would say.
With the Broncos, we have no clue what this team's going to do next year. Because we saw the Nathaniel Hackett era of the season was not good. However, after they let him go, we saw a Broncos team that was, very much improved.
Yeah.
They weren't where they were supposed to be at the beginning of the season without him.
But they played better football without a head coach.
Played much better football, and then with Sean Payton being there, could change everything up completely.
Absolutely.
So I think I think the Chiefs will do it, but at the same time, I think any of those three teams can.
Yeah, for sure. Like I
Now-
was saying, though, with the Raiders, Derek Carr gets cut. Is Derek Carr the Saints quarterback on day one of the NFL season?
A lot of people are saying that they hope not. And I can see where they're coming from. He just got cut from the Raiders, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But I don't see much other options.
He is the best alternative.
Without a doubt. He's worlds better than what we experienced this year.
Better than a hurt Jameis Winston. Better than a healthy Jameis Winston. Better than Andy Dalton. Better than Taysom Hill. And as far as the free agent market goes, the only other guy out there is Jimmy G.
And
Derek Carr's better than Jimmy G.
I personally would rather Jimmy G. I think he fits the team a little more.
I think Derek Carr's better.
I do too. I think he's better. But he's also going to want a lot more money than Derek Carr will.
Derek Carr's going to want more than Jimmy G.
No, Jimmy G.
Jimmy G's going to want more than Derek Carr.
Because he knows a lot of teams see his potential, taking this team to the playoffs. What was it, 3 years in a row?
Super Bowl twice. Twice in 3 years.
Beating the Packers every time.
Oh, no, he didn't go to Super Bowl. He went to the NFC Championship. My bad. But, yeah,
Soundman said we can get Baker on the cheap.
we can get Baker on the cheap. But there's a reason he would be on the cheap.
Yeah.
So
He also said Kamara's going to be suspended soon.
yeah,
The grand jury in Vegas is moving forward with the case.
I did see that.
And then he said the Jets with Aaron Rodgers will still be trash.
Okay, so the Kamara thing first. I did see that he officially got indicted, so we will see what that looks like. I would expect probably a 6 to 8 game suspension for Kamara, which means we are going to need to look somewhere else for running back to begin the year. I'm hoping we draft a guy in either the second or the third round.
The third round, I picked 71
Zach
from
Charbonnet.
UCLA. Yeah, him.
Preferably Zach Charbonnet, maybe a little Devon A-Chain, possibly a Sean Tucker. I'm a big Sean Tucker guy. I would love for him to be a Saint. Reminds me of Kamara.
But at the same time, we're back in the first round. Something could be available. I'd like for us to get a tight end. Either of the two that we talked about.
Either that or we get Bijan Robinson at 29. Bijan Robinson. Generational talent at running back, some say. We'll see.
Some.
Are you not some? But no, I think the pick at 29 is going to be very interesting for the Saints. There's so many different places they can go.
Yeah.
They can go running back. They can go D-line, either edge or interior, either way. They can go linebacker. They can go corner.
It
They
really
can go
all
safe.
depends.
I mean, they can literally pick any position, and we'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Except for the one position they're going to take, which is offensive tackle.
I was just about to say it.
I mean, they even could go quarterback. So we'll see where the Saints go at
Yeah,
pick
it really all
29.
depends on what's there, how these other teams approach this draft.
It depends how the board falls, for sure.
Will definitely depict how we go about this draft.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the draft for the next 2.5 months because football's over, man.
Yeah.
And it hurts because we are football guys. That is our number one sport right there. And, it hurts to see it go, but we're not going to stop talking about it because the combine comes up in a couple weeks, and then, we'll be doing mock drafts on here, probably, versions of mock drafts on almost every episode, whether it be the first 3 picks, a trade that might happen, what we think the Saints are going to do. And then, the day of the draft, we're already planning something big. So stay tuned for that. Once the draft gets closer, I know it's the end of April, so keep on tuning in until then. But moving on from football, let's talk a little bit of basketball.
Oh.
And then we'll get back into football for just a second.
Oh, flip-flop.
Yeah.
Fly.
You know what to say about flip-flops. They're good for the summer.
They're good for the beach.
That too. All right. So NBA All-Star Game is coming up this weekend. We can't really pick who's going to win the game because we don't know what the teams are. They're doing the All-Star game a little bit different this year. Normally they pick the starters and the reserves, and then they'll announce the injuries, and then they will have, a TNT special where they do the draft with the two captains. This year, the captains are picking them 90 minutes before tip-off.
Wow.
So they don't get any chemistry together. So if you don't enjoy the All-Star game, like, pickup game feel, you're gonna hate this season because that's all it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Is guys who don't have any plays, they don't have any chemistry with each other. They're just gonna be throwing the ball around and hope somebody scores.
It'll be a lot of lobs.
It's gonna be so much score. I feel like they might hit like 700 points combined. But so we're not gonna pick a winner of the All-Star game. We already went through the list of who the All-Stars were.
The West.
I mean, they don't play West and East though.
The West.
They just draft. So whichever team has more West players, that's who's going to win.
Yes.
But they do have a couple, cool challenges and stuff like that we can talk about that we see every All-Star weekend. So let's go ahead and we'll talk through those and see who we think's going to win. First up, we got the Skills Challenge. They did this one a little bit different too. Normally they, pick a big man and a guard, and then the winners of those two tournaments will go up against each other. That's the winner. This year they're doing teams in the Skills Challenge. So they have 3 teams in the Skills Challenge this year. They have Team Rooks, which is 3 rookies: Paolo Banchero, Jaden Ivey, and Jabari Smith. Team Utah Jazz, because it is in Utah. So Jordan Clarkson, Walker Kessler, and Colin Sexton.
Ooh, I like that one.
And then they have Team Antetokounmpo, which is Alex Thanasis and Giannis Antetokounmpo. The three Antetokounmpo brothers will be forming a team as well. So Skills Challenge, you got to dribble through the cones, make the pass, make a layup, and then shoot a 3 up and down the court, almost in a suicide style. So I don't know exactly how the logistics work for the new team system, but I don't think the Antetokounmpos are winning, that's for sure. They're not shooting a 3.
Yeah, the 3 is what's going to
The
get
3 is going to kill them.
Give me the Utah Jazz team.
Utah's at the home arena. I'm sure they'll have a bunch of Jazz fans there. They'll probably win it for them. But it would be cool to see the rookie team win as well. I'm a big fan of Paolo, Jaden, and Jabari, so that'll be pretty dope to watch. The Skills Challenge. So I'll go on record and take the Jazz.
I will do the same.
Next up, you've got the Slam Dunk Contest featuring Kenyon Martin Jr., Jericho Sims, Mac McClung, and everyone's favorite, Trey Murphy III. Woo! Kenneth Murphy. I'm taking Trey to win.
Well, yeah, I mean, kind of have to.
He's literally my favorite pal. Flock around and find out.
Moving on.
No. Kenyon Martin Jr. is an interesting one because he's got that pedigree, the NBA pedigree. Trey Murphy, I think, he makes dunks in game that are very athletic. He's shown he has a lot of athleticism. It'll be interesting to see him do show dunks, though, because that's not something we normally see out of him. He's typically just a drive to the rim and slam it. He's not going to, windmill. He's not going to 360, anything like that. Curious to see how that'll translate. Jericho Sims was a late addition because I forgot who it was, but I think somebody got injured and had to drop out, so he got thrown in there. And then Mac McClung is actually not an NBA player. He's in the G League.
I've never heard of this man before.
So Mac McClung was a big-time dunker in college. He was that white dude who dunked. That was kind of his whole thing.
Jordan Kilgannon.
Yeah, but this guy actually played organized basketball.
Yeah. The professor.
Yeah, precisely. And one legend. But Mac McClung is actually a G League player in the 76ers organization. He was pretty good in college, ended up transferring to Texas Tech. But he is super athletic and he's got the bunnies. So it'd be kind of interesting to see a G League guy win the NBA dunk contest. So that's a cool storyline, but I've got to pull for my guy Trey.
Oh yeah, of course.
And then the judges for this one are Jamal Crawford, Lisa Leslie, Dominique Wilkins, and Karl Malone. So you've got plenty of basketball talent at the judges' table. And then finally, the one that most people care the most about because it's the most exciting is the 3-point contest. So this year we've got Tyrese Halliburton, Tyler Hero, Buddy Hield, Kevin Herter, Damian Lillard, Lauri Markkanen, Jason Tatum, and Anthony Simons.
There's a good list.
C.J. McCollum was supposed to be in it, but had to drop out due to a thumb injury. So that's kind of upsetting.
Imagine Lauri Markkanen winning the 3-point contest in 2020.
In Utah, that would be dope.
I'd like to see it,
I would love to see it. I'd have no problem with it for sure.
especially for the comeback player of the year.
Big news. Julius Randle replaces Anthony Simons in the 3-point contest.
Huh.
Because he's injured, apparently.
Doesn't change anything. Give me
Yeah, I wasn't going to take
Kevin
him.
Herter.
Okay. I like that pick. I think Kevin Herter's a good pick. I think Buddy Hield is technically the best 3-point shooter in the league by statistics right
He
now.
would be
so
my second.
he's probably a guy that people would think. But for some reason, it feels like the best 3-point shooter never wins. I don't know. That sounds weird, but like,
I don't know. Curry's one of you.
no, Curry's, yeah, but like also Clay. We had that year where Devin Booker just popped off, and while Devin Booker's a very good 3-point shooter, as we know, he's not known for being like the greatest shooter in the league.
This is one of those things where, any given Sunday.
So we'll see who gets hot.
Yeah.
Kevin Herter's a good pick. I like that. That's who you picked, right?
Yes.
Kevin Herter.
Yes. The red rifle of the NBA.
No, Kevin
Red
Herter's a
Mamba.
good pick for sure. I don't think it's going to be Tatum. I don't think it's going to be Julius Randle. I'm going to go Dame. I think Dame's going to win it. Dame has had, I don't know if you've seen over the past like 2 weeks, but he's averaging like 37 points a game.
Wow.
And like 50% from three. So I'm going to go Dame. He's really hot right now. He probably won't give it his all because he's in the All-Star game too. But I'd like to see Dame win something.
I mean, if I was in his shoes, I'd much rather be the 3-point champion than, win an All-Star game.
Well, also, he's a dunk contest champion. So if Dame wins the dunk contest and the 3-point contest, he'll join a very exclusive list of people that I cannot name. But I know only a couple people have done it. So that's what we're looking at right now in the NBA, getting into the All-Star game. Let's do a couple quick predictions in the NBA as well. So not getting into where we're at right now, but what you see happening in the future. So if the MVP vote happened today and you had one, who would you vote for?
Jokic. By far, Jokic.
Yeah, I agree. The Nuggets are arguably the best team in the NBA. They are 7 games ahead of second place in the West. So they're by far the best team in the West.
And he's the best player on the best team.
Best player on the best team, and not only that, but he's averaging, I think, close, if not a triple-double. It amazes me how good Jokic is as a 7-foot player who passes like a guard and could, obviously he's 7 foot, he rebounds the ball well. His only knock is his defense, but everything he does on the offensive side of the floor, for me, negates that his defense is below average. I mean, he is just absolutely insane when it comes to the game of basketball. Yeah, he's averaging 25, 11.5, and 10. Like, come on.
Stats don't lie.
No, and not only that, but he's like Russell. He's like a 7-foot Russell Westbrook. How Russell Westbrook used to be. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But
Old
that's
Russ.
that's MVP finals. Who do you have going to the finals? Especially with these past trades, that could change a lot of things.
Yeah, the Suns really, they've got to be the favorite.
They got KD, man.
They got to be the favorite coming out of the West now.
Yeah.
Which they were already good, and he kind of just brings them to the next level.
Yeah. Do you now, just coming off of Jokic, do you think the Nuggets have a chance?
Oh, without a doubt they do, but the Nuggets have always been up there, and I feel like they just never found their footing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they really haven't done much to that team to kind of get over that point. So I don't see them, doing what they couldn't do the past few seasons.
Fair enough. For me, I think it's the Suns out of the West as well. The team I would like to see is the Kings. I mean, Pels first.
Oh,
of
yeah,
course.
obviously.
But I'm trying to take that out of this. I'd love to see the Kings make a little run in the playoffs and shock everybody. I think they're a very good team, man. They're really exciting to watch, and they're scoring the most points per game in the entire NBA right now. So if you score more than your other opponent, you're guaranteed to win, I guess. So a team to look out for, I would say, is the Clippers. I think they're getting good at the good time. They're getting healthy. But I have the Suns coming out of the West. Who do you have coming out of the East?
The East, there's a few teams. I think, arguably, I think the West is better than the East. I think there's more good teams in the West than there are in the East.
I would say the East is more top heavy, and
Yes,
the West is
yes.
more sustainable from 1 to 12.
The East, they have Celtics, Sixers, and Cavs. I think are the best three teams.
Mhm.
And with those three,
I mean, the Bucks are the second seed.
oh yeah, I forgot about the Bucks. Bucks too. So 4 teams really, and then
4 teams that are, you're very convinced are contenders.
Yeah.
Whereas in the West, I mean, they don't drop off below 500 until you get out of the play-in. The top 10 teams are all above 500. You can only say 7 teams in the East are above 500. So, speaking to your point, I think the East is a lot top-heavier, for sure.
But between those 4 teams, Bucks always have a good case. Celtics always have a good case. The team that I want to see in the finals this year, not either of those. It's the Cavs.
Oh, I would not complain about Cavs in the finals, especially to stick it to LeBron. Hate LeBron. But yeah, I think the Cavs would be an awesome. Is that who you think is going to make it, or is that who you want to make it, or both?
A little bit of both. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, they do have some proving to do, especially in the playoffs. Younger team. Honestly, I could see either of those 4 teams that I mentioned go to the
Mhm.
finals. So it's kind of really a toss-up. So at that point, it's really who do I want to see? And I think it's the Cavs.
Yeah, I have no problem with the Cavs. For me, it comes down to the 76ers and the Celtics. I do love the Cavs. I think they're a great team. I just don't know if they have what it takes to go all the way. I think you add one more piece to that team, and they're the number 1 team in the East.
One more piece, or just another year to build that chemistry.
Yeah,
and match.
absolutely. Because they've got talent. I think they just lack a little bit of depth, in my opinion. And for me, the Celtics are the team with the best depth. And for me, that's also the most important in the playoffs. We saw it last year in the playoffs. Is the Celtics were a very deep team, and they made it out of the East. Now, of course, they lost in the finals, but they gave the Warriors a run for their money for sure. And the Celtics they're so darn good, man. I mean, they were without Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum last night or 2 nights ago, and they brought the Bucks into overtime. And the Bucks had everyone. The Bucks were fully healthy. Chris Middleton, Giannis, Drew Holiday, everybody was playing. And the Celtics take them into overtime without their 2 best players. I mean, they had Sam Hauser in the starting lineup. Do you know who Sam Hauser is?
I do.
Do you think anybody listening to this knows
No.
who Sam Hauser? Probably not,
No.
because they're not nerds like us. But yeah, the Celtics are number 1 seed in the East right now. They're by a win percentage, they're the best team in the league. Once Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are both back healthy, and the Celtics are clicking on all cylinders, it's hard to beat them. So I'm gonna go in the finals. I'm gonna go Celtics Suns, and you have Cavs Suns.
Yes.
To be fair, though, in the East, I could see any of the top 4 teams like we mentioned. And then in the West, Suns, Clippers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Pels, Mavs. None of those teams would surprise me.
No, yeah. With the Mavs, it all depends on how well.
Kyrie and Luka can mesh.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's where I'm at in the NBA. Before we head out, I do want to get back to the NFL just to talk about a little bit of future for there as well. Just because we got to. And, we love to talk about betting. We didn't hit on any of our bets for the Super Bowl.
Nope.
Because we didn't cash out, and that's
the
on
Eagles
us.
didn't win.
Stupid Eagles. But first, I want to talk about who we think is going to win the MVP next year, and then who we think is going to win the Super Bowl next year, and their odds for it.
Way too early predictions.
Way too early
Got
predictions. MVP 2024 in the NFL. Who do you take?
Joe Burrow.
I had the same pick.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow.
He, with that receiving core, with a team that's getting better each year, I feel like they're getting closer and closer to the Super Bowl, like the Super Bowl win,
Mhm.
even though, they got there the year before.
Weirdly enough, I felt like they were closer to winning the Super Bowl this year than they were the year prior.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. They just didn't match up well against that defense.
No, the Chiefs just figured him out. But yeah, Joe Burrow for MVP next year. I mean, what we saw out of Patrick Mahomes this year, if you told me Joe Burrow has those same exact stats, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he's got T. Higgins, he's got Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon out of the backfield to take some pressure off of him. They just need that O-line.
Yeah, another year for, Joe Burrow, another year under his belt, that experience, and then another year for this team to get better.
Yeah. And then speaking about teams, what team do you have right now winning the Super Bowl next season?
I want to see him go back, and I want to see him get the job done this time. I want the Eagles.
All right. By the way, on the MVP Joe Burrow vote, that was at plus 700. He is tied with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes right now, who those three guys finished 1, 2, and 3 this season in MVP voting. You had the Eagles, I believe, in FanDuel, which is the app we use. I believe they're somewhere around 450 to 500. If I remember off the top of my head, I think the Chiefs were the betting favorite, Eagles at 2.
Yeah, I tried to look it up earlier and I couldn't get it to come up.
It happens to the best of us. And then I have the Bengals winning it. I have Burrow winning the MVP. I have Bengals winning the Super Bowl next year. Like you said, they were one step away 2 years ago. They were really good this year, and I felt like they could have won it this year if they had gotten there. They didn't get there, but I feel like next year might be their year. They've just been getting to the edge, and not quite jumping. And I feel like next year's the year they make that jump, and they finally win it, and those odds are at plus 900. So, who knows? I might put a little Joe Burrow MVP, Bengals Super Bowl parlay, and if that hits, those are some odds right there.
Oh, yeah.
But that's going to do it tonight for the Off the Dome Sports Podcast. I loved this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I just love talking about football.
Give a shout-out real quick to,
of course,
the man behind the screen right now, helping us out a lot, Shane Creed.
Shane, I love Creed. Thank you so much for helping us out in the sound booth tonight, Shane.
However, I forgot to tell him how to turn it off.
Oh.
So I'm going to go run and do that.
Okay. That's, he loves Creed. He doesn't love sound production. I don't know. But yeah, there's the salute that we do every episode. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. Whether you're on Radio House Studios, watching us live, or newrockradio.us. Don't forget, you don't have to listen just for us. Listen to New Rock Radio at all times. If you listened in and you want to go back and watch it, you're more than welcome to. Radio House Studios on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can go back and watch any video we've ever done, any podcast we've done. Go ahead, watch them back. Thank you so much for listening tonight. I hope you enjoyed us talking about the Super Bowl, talking about the future of the NFL, what we saw this past season, as well as a little NBA thrown in there as well. Let us know in the comments what you want us to talk about next time. Go ahead and follow us on Facebook, Off the Dome Sports Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, _Dome Pod. That was Mustang. I am Redfish, and we will see you next time.